present I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue, the antidote to panel games. At the piano is Colin and your chairman is Humphrey Lyttleton.
Hello and welcome to I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue. You join us in Basingstoke, the fine Hampshire town that boasts an historical tapestry richly woven with culture. Pride of place in the town's museum goes to the skull of a 300,000-year-old male, discovered here in 1962. A primitive being with short legs and long arms, Basingstoke man is described by experts as genetically somewhere between ape and human. Sadly, they don't know anything about that old skull. Jane Austen was born at nearby Steventon, where she shared a romance with a Basingstoke man, widely believed to be a forester. But their engagement lasted only one night. History doesn't record what suddenly prompted her to leave Acorn Willie Jenkins. One of Basingstoke's most famous sons is Thomas Burberry, inventor of rainproof gabardine. He perfected his proofing method after noticing that an oily substance from wool made a shepherd's trousers water-resistant after prolonged contact with sheep. Burberry set up shop in Winchester Street, and the business flourished until 1905, when the premises were destroyed by fire. The fire brigade attended immediately, but they got soaked when all the water from their hoses bounced straight back. Luckily, the business was saved when townsfolk obliged by covering the merchandise with wet blankets. And to this day, Basingstoke holds an annual event in commemoration. So please welcome 4 honoured guests to the Basingstoke Wet Blanket Festival. On my left, Barry Cryer and Graeme Garton. On my right, Tim Brooke-Taylor and Linda Smith. And please welcome the lovely lady whose entry is always warmly welcome. Our faithful scorer, the delightful Samantha. You won't have failed to notice that many organisations these days feel the need to encapsulate their mission statement in a simple motto or slogan. For example, back in 1997, the Labour Party brilliantly adopted the slogan, "Things can only get better," a notion they've made even more true today. So, teams, I'd like you please to suggest mottos likely to be adopted by certain societies, businesses, governments or other organisations. Barry, you can start.
Allied Carpets, 50 years of closing down sales.
Graeme?
As one for the Guild of Plate Glass Shop Window Removers. We take great pains.
Tim?
The Amputation Society. Go to work on a leg.
Linda?
It's the motto of the Association of Norfolk Bakers. 200 years in bread.
The motto of Big Brother. Who cares who wins?
The Kamikaze Club, we missed.
IKEA, I'm sorry, you're going to have to put your own slogan together.
As a local one I noticed, Basingstoke, gateway to Reading.
La Société des Bateleurs Anciens de la France, retired mariners in France. Their slogan in English is "To the sea, this is the time." In French, "Allô, c'est l'heure."
the Society of Mime Artists.
One for the House of Lords. May contain nuts.
British Telecom, putting you on hold.
The Procrastination Society. 100 years without a motto.
OK, the teams are going to sing for us now in the round called One Song to the Tune of Another. In this game, the teams will combine the words of one song with the tune of a different one. Musical accompaniment will be provided by Colin, who's rightly famous for his piano arrangements, although he can get you tickets for most other ferry operators. OK, Tim, we'll start with you. Will you please sing the words of Heaven Knows I'm Miserable Now by the Smiths to the tune of Gilbert and Sullivan's lovely song, Titwillow.
I was happy in the haze of a drunken hour, but heaven knows I'm miserable now. I was looking for a job, and then I found a job, and heaven knows I'm miserable now. In my life, why do I give valuable time to people who don't care if I live or die? Two lovers entwined pass me by, and heaven knows I'm miserable now.
I don't think I can go on. It's you now, Linda. Would you please sing the words of Psycho Killer by the Talking Heads to the tune of Rennie and Renato's hit Save Your Love?
Can't seem to face up to the facts. I'm tense and nervous and I can't relax. I can't sleep 'cause my bed's on fire. Don't touch me, I'm a real live wire. Psycho killer, qu'est-ce que c'est? Far, far. Far, 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 far better. Run, 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 run away. Psycho killer, qu'est-ce que c'est? Far, 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 far better. Run, 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 run away. You start a conversation, you can't even finish it. You're talking a lot, but you're not saying anything. When I have nothing to say, my lips are sealed. Say nothing once, why say it again? Psycho killer, qu'est-ce que c'est? Run, 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 run away. Psycho killer, qu'est-ce que c'est? Far, 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 far better. Run, 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 run away. That's
And the
very
winner-
kind, but as a singer, I'm no Jeremy Hardy.
And finally, Graeme, would you please sing the words of Lady Marmalade to the tune of Who Do You Think You Are Kidding, Mr. Hitler?
Hey, sister, go, sister, soul, sister, go, sister. Hey, sister, go, sister, soul, sister, go, sister. He met Marmalade down in old New Orleans. Strutting her stuff on the street, he said hello. Hey, Joe, you wanna give it a go? Itchy, gitchy, ya, ya, da, da, itchy, gitchy, ya, ya, here, mocha, chocolate, ya, ya, Rio lady, marmalade, voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? Voulez-vous coucher avec moi?
Awesome comedy. Hang on, I skipped a line there. I should have read, a bit of musical entertainment would have been nice. Awesome comedy. The next game is all about boasting, which is why it's called Swankers. You know, if you're going to boast, it's best not to get caught out. Remember how Jonathan Aitken was caught swanking with his simple sword of truth and his trusty shield of fair play? Well, he was later proved in court to be one of the most useless swankers ever. In this round, the teams will take it in turns to be guests at a social function, boasting about fascinating aspects of their lives. Shouldn't take long. Each succeeding guest has to try to outdo his or her predecessor. When I honk my horn once, the teams have to change the topic of conversation. If I honk twice, it's the end of the round. If I honk 3 times, it means my escape tunnel's been discovered. Off you go, Tim.
I don't know about you accountants, but I balance my books all the time.
I balance my books before I get up in the morning.
I don't know about you accountants, but I'm so on top of my accounts that I'm thinking of becoming an actuary for the challenge.
Well, I don't know about you. I don't bother with the accounts. I have a little criminal to do those for me. New topic. Well, I don't know about the rest of you nuns, but I've got nothing to boast about.
I would say something, but I'm part of a silent order.
I've just been voted noisiest nun in the convent.
I just voted you noisiest nun in the convent.
We're such a strict order. We don't allow any nuns in our convent.
Well, when I got married to Christ...
Lovely photographs.
We had 500 mushroom vol-au-vents.
We had 2,000 mushroom vol-au-vents, and we weren't allowed to eat a single one.
We have an interesting new round now. With a game called Whose Dustbin? I've specially commissioned a team of researchers to take the dustbins from outside the homes of certain celebrities or organisations. The object of the game is to identify the bin's owner by careful examination of its contents. Actually, our own Tim Brooke-Taylor may be at something of an advantage here, as he spent some time working for Reading Council as a dustman, researching his next role as a dustman for Reading Council. OK, Tim and Linda, the first celebrity dustbin I've procured is for you to rummage through, and the identity of its mystery owner is now being displayed to our theatre audience via the laser display screen. Here is the mystery voice for listeners at home.
Julie Andrews. Julie Andrews.
Let's have a look in here.
Let's get the lid off.
Yep, yeah, right.
Right. Oh, there's quite a lot of paper.
Yeah, is it just brown, isn't it?
It's brown.
Brown.
I tell you what, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You could use the... Oh, no, you can't.
Why not?
Someone's done it up with sellotape.
Oh, that ruins the brown paper packages. Oh no. Oh, there's an ointment here. It's for,
what's that?
For dog bites and bee stings.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's a little kitten with no whiskers.
Oh. Oh, look at
No, stop.
What kind of sick person? No, it's got no sense of direction. It's veering about all over the place. It's got no spatial awareness whatsoever.
Humph, whose dustbin could this possibly be? Sorry, put the top on.
Barry and Graeme.
I think it's her, isn't it?
It's
We can't.
Julie
Time's up.
Walters. Sorry. Andrews?
Julie Andrews. Must be.
OK, your turn to rummage now, Barry and Graeme. Audience, here's the owner's identity going up on the laser display board. Listeners at home, here's the mystery voice.
Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein.
Right. Approaching the dustbin.
Here we go.
Take the lid off, Gray.
Found him.
Well, they're not worthy opponents. Found him, was it? Found him or found it?
It was him. There was nothing else in the bin.
Just him.
There wasn't room for anything else.
Certainly found nothing else in the bin.
Nothing.
But that doesn't necessarily mean it wasn't there.
It must be so much fun if you know the answer.
Somebody a lot of people were looking for.
Oh, hello, Bin Laden.
Close.
You're very warm. I noticed earlier.
Would Iraq help?
Yeah.
Would it be Saddam?
Our next game is all about the exchange of letters between unlikely correspondents. It's called 84 Chicken Crossroad. With the advent of the internet and email, letter writing has largely gone out of fashion to the extent that before long, the good old postage stamp will become redundant. There'll be no more commemorative issues, which is a shame. My favourite issue was the one depicting breeds of British dogs, each stamp coming with a special instruction to sniff the back before licking it. In this round, each team will take it in turns to improvise the letters of two famous historical figures who corresponded with one another in a series of letters. Tim and Linda will start by composing a letter from Queen Victoria to John Brown, and then Barry and Graeme will come up with the reply and so on. However, the challenge is that the letters must be constructed by each panellist, alternating one word at a time. When I honk my horn once... Oh, God, we go back to this horn now. When I honk my horn once, the letter writers should immediately sign off and the other team begin to reply. A double honk will indicate the end of the correspondence. Oh, the temptation. Off you go, Tim and Linda.
I've forgotten who we are. We're,
Were we?
Queen Victoria
Yeah.
to John Brown.
right. Dear,
John,
I'm
writing
to
you. Say
we
must
end
this.
arrangement.
It's
Horrible,
but
necessary.
I
Wish
to
say
that
I
would
like
to
try
and
try
and
try.
You've got to come up with the answer.
They're not going to sign off.
With best wishes, Vicky.
Now you can come up with the answer.
Who starts?
Barry and Graeme.
Dear. Madge. What were you thinking of when you wrote that letter to me? Eh? Oh. Missing me already, John?
I'll tell you what, let's try that again. This time we'll examine the lost correspondence between Henry VIII and the Pope. And you can start us off this time, please, Barry or Graeme.
Who's writing the first letter?
Us.
OK, let's try that again, but this time we'll examine the lost correspondence between Henry VIII and the Pope.
Don't get techy.
You can start us off... You can start us off this time, please, Barry and Graeme. What could be simpler than that? God,
just because you didn't have any visitors today, there's no... Not our fault.
And who are we? We'll be Henry VIII, shall we?
Right. Sake of it, we'll be Henry VIII, yes. Dear
Pope.
I
Hope
that
you
will
forgive
me
writing
to
you
in
this
fashion,
but
I
sincerely
hope
that
you
are
ready
for
some
action.
Although
Yesterday
I
saw
outside
my
window
a
nun
who
was
surprisingly
killing
time
while
sitting
on
a
small
yet
shapely
donkey.
and
Imagine
my
surprise
when
my
current
wife
came
bustling
in
and
cried,
loudly
"What on earth
is
that
donkey
doing
in
the
previous
installment
of
this
letter?" Your pal, Henry.
Tim and Linda, go on.
Dear
Henry.
V.
V.
1
1.
1.
What's up?
Matter
You.
why
You.
looker
So.
side
What's up?
matter
With.
Rome
Nicer.
nossa
Bad.
listen
Nicer.
place
Ah.
shut up
Your.
face.
Well, I notice it's very nearly the end of the show, but it's just time to squeeze in a round of Daily Mail songbook. Samantha is an avid reader of the newspapers, and every Sunday she gets the newsagent to deliver. She says he likes to come in and place the Times open on the breakfast bar and observe her spread out on the kitchen table. So, teams, while she's occupying herself with that, I'll invite you please to suggest titles of songs likely to appeal to readers of the Daily Mail. Graeme, will you start, please?
The Daily Mail. You are the sunshine of my life, Mom.
String 'em up before you go-go.
Please don't read The Guardian, Maud.
Who let the frogs in?
Or, hold it, Foxband Gallop, what a picture.
Hanging on the telephone is too good for them, frankly.
You're the one that I want, Mom.
Sherry, Sherry, baby, why don't you stay out of sight?
Gilly, Gilly, Simon Heifer catching all the bogus asylum seekers by the sea.
Strangers in the night, feel free to shoot them.
I can't stop loving you, Mom.
Then there's, of course, that lovely Dusty Springfield number, wishing and hanging and flogging and tagging.
And the old Helen Shapiro number, Walk-in Bath to Happiness.
Do-diddy-diddy-dum diddy-do, Mom.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, as the little Dutch boy of destiny sticks his finger in the dike of fate, and the former BBC Director General asks him not to, I notice it's the end of the show, so from the team, Samantha, myself and the good folk of Basingstoke, it's goodbye.
Barry Cryer, Graeme Garden, Tim Brooke-Taylor and Linda Smith were being given silly things to do by Humphrey Lyttleton, with Colin setting some of them to music. The programme consultant was Ian Pattington and the producer was John Naismith. We present I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue, the antidote to panel games. At the piano is Colin and your chairman is Humphrey Lyttleton.
Hello and welcome to I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue. You join us for a second week in Basingstoke, the undisputed jewel in Hampshire's crown. The name Basingstoke is first mentioned when William the Conqueror commissioned the Domesday Book, where it's listed as a settlement with a population of some 200-odd people. But the Normans could be a bit judgmental. Basingstoke's early prosperity was based on the production of wool. Sheep were raised locally, and their wool was cleaned by being beaten with a mixture of water and clay by large wooden hammers driven by watermills. Later, in a more enlightened age, it was decided to shear them first. The Hospital of St. John the Baptist saw its ultimate test with the Black Death of 1347, which left Basingstoke decimated. 'Tis a sight to vex the spirit. Them the Lord hath spared do move with hollow cheeks and eyes that are sunken unto their sockets. Broken are they with despair and the pity of their existence. A stillness most dreadful and ghostly doth cloak the whole town with awe. But other than those comments, the RAC guide gives it 2 rosettes. 1657 saw the Basingstoke witch trials, where a woman named Goody Turner was found guilty of practicing witchcraft. After surviving a ducking in the pond, an angry mob then tried to burn her at the stake, but she was too damp and kept going. and kept going out. The family of Sarah, Duchess of York, came from the nearby village of Dummer, which is presumably why she's constantly referred to as one of the Dummer Fergusons. Basingstoke today is probably most famous as housing the headquarters of the AA, and we're expecting a party from their offices here tonight. We've been told to expect them sometime in the next 7 hours. Now, let's meet 4 comedians who are today considered the funniest in their field. However, the council do say they'll have their caravans towed away if they don't move on. They are on my left, Graeme Garden and Barry Cryer. And on my right, Tim Brooke-Taylor and Linda Smith. And making a welcome return to take up her position on my left hand, our scorer, the ever-delightful Samantha. We kick off this week with a round designed to improve our understanding of the English language. For example, there are some ignorant souls who don't understand the subtle difference between the words sty and pig pen. Well, sty refers to a low shed or enclosure where swine are housed, whereas pig pen is that big clock tower they've got at Westminster. But words are constantly changing their meaning, so I'd like the teams to share with us some new definitions they may have spotted recently. Linda, would you care to start, please?
Pendulous. When you can put a pen under it and it stays there.
Barry.
Psychopath. Crazy paving.
Tim.
Mistake. Winner of a butcher's beauty contest. Gross mistake. Unlikely winner of a butcher's beauty contest.
Graeme.
Decease. To stop stopping.
Masonette. Very small chief constable.
Sewage. Legal work.
iPod. Optical aid using peas.
Palisade. What the Queen drinks. Margate. The mother of all scandals.
Tambra. Cry of a French lumberjack as a tree falls.
Sentiment. The perfume he intended to buy.
Postulate. The new name for Royal Mail.
Herpes. What my wife has won prizes for at the local flower show.
Juniper. Israeli crab.
Deglaze. To stop watching Neighbours.
Decade. Ant.
Torpid. Incomplete torpedo.
Wisp. A really pathetic wasp.
Mushrooms. What Laurence Llewelyn Bowen does.
Teams are going to give full vent to their acting skills now in the round called Sound Charades. This is a cunningly adapted version of the erstwhile TV favourite Give Us a Clue, where the players mimed a song or film titles in complete silence to produce wave upon wave of unbridled, noisy laughter. Our version is similar in that the element of silence is retained. but in a novel twist that's provided by the audience. Sadly, the show is no longer aired, but regulars Lionel Blair and Christopher Biggins recently appeared on Stars in Their Eyes, where Lionel, singing Maggie May, came second to his old teammate. Biggins said Lionel's rod was outstanding, but he easily had it licked. Tim and Linda, you're to start, please, and your title will shortly be displayed to the audience via the display screen, while for listeners at home, here's the mystery voice.
6 feet under. 6 feet under.
It's,
There are 3 words, and it's a television programme. What are you doing down there?
What? Down here under the table?
Under the table. What are you doing down under the table, Linda?
Well, I'm just having a bit of a look.
Can you see anything?
Well, there must be 3 of them. Either that or it's a huge insect.
Is it a huge insect? Is it hairy?
No, you won't. No, it can't be a huge. It's far too hairy. I think it might be the Beverly Sisters.
That's all you get. You can come up now, Lynn.
So, can you really get me onto just a minute?
Was it raising the dead?
Six feet under.
Yes.
How do you know one of the Beverly Sisters hasn't got a wooden leg?
I don't know. How do you know?
Let's not go along that road. Right, your turn, Barry and Graeme. Your title's now being exhibited on the laser display board. And here again is the mystery voice for listeners at home.
The Stepford Wives. The Stepford Wives.
3 words.
3 words, yes, indeed.
And it's a film?
It's a film, and it was a book, I think.
Yeah.
Yes?
Was a book or wasn't?
Was a book, and still is, probably. The book still exists. Yep. Ah, Dougal.
Ah, Hamish. You'll have had your tea.
Well, I wouldn't say no.
Well, I'll just take it as read then. Now,
the longest day.
Come away. Come away out the back. I want to show you something.
Well, there's nothing round the back I haven't seen before.
Oh, look. Over here.
James! What the devil are those?
Those, Hamish, are my dwives.
Dwives?
Aye.
They're a lively bunch.
Well, it's feeding time, do you see? But you'll notice these dwives have very short legs.
Very short indeed.
Aye.
Right. That gravel must bring a tear to their eyes.
Oh, it does. And that's why I've made that wee platform arrangement.
You see it? I get it.
See with it?
God, see. So they can hop onto it to reach the trough.
The trough to reach the food.
Oh, so ingenious. What do you call that wee platform arrangement the dwives are standing on?
I would have thought it was obvious.
The Stepford Wives next. Very good.
The next game is called Word for Word. Now, even though this is a word game, it makes great physical demands on the players, who've all been training rigorously to become match fit. Graeme, Linda and Tim all decided to build up their stamina by taking up fell walking, while Barry has been rambling since 1972. OK, I'd like you to start off by exchanging unconnected words, please. Tim and Linda. Barry and Graeme, you should challenge to take over play if you spot any connection. Off you go, Tim and Linda.
Tortoise.
Sink tidy.
Challenge from Graeme.
Yes, Miss Sink Tidy taught us Latin at school.
I'll allow that. Over to you, Graeme and Barry.
Right. Egg.
Plinth.
Spoon.
Orbit.
Leg.
Circuit. Tree. Tangent.
Challenge from Linda.
Circuitry.
Oh.
God,
Brilliant, carry on.
Tactile.
Bird bath.
Campanology.
Sofa.
Paranoid.
Coffee table.
Paranoid coffee table. 60s rock group. San Francisco based.
No, overruled. Carry on, Tim.
Mascarpone.
Sorry?
Mascarpone.
No, sorry.
Spin.
Challenge from Barry.
Mascarpone. Chicago gangster, was it? Who said sorry in prison. Deep remorse. Connection between Mascarpone, legendary Chicago gangster. No relation to him in Berlin. What?
Whoever it was, you've won. It's now time to play the game called Mornington Crescent. But first, I noticed from the listener reaction in tray that we've received a little over no letters this week. It comes from a Mrs. Trellis of North Wales. She writes, Dear Watchdog, am I alone in receiving so much junk mail? Can these people not get it into their thick heads? I do not want a Chinese boat. Yours sincerely, Mrs. Trellis. Stupid old bat. Now today's
junk.
Now today's version of the game promises to be a real spectacle, as this time the teams will be playing living Mornington Crescent, during which they'll have to manoeuvre themselves physically around a large and fully illustrated map. So teams, if you care to take your shoes off now, please. Thank you. As you'd expect, it's standard metropolitan rules as defined by Norton's Third Convention. Therefore, blocking is not allowed, southern approach routes are out of bounds, and the poke holder always plays advantage.
Did you say blocking was allowed?
Not allowed.
Not allowed.
No.
Can't stress that too much, Tim.
I can't. Your voice is gone. Tim, will you start, please?
Marylebone High Street.
Cleveland Street.
Gants Hill.
Graeme.
I'm not going all the way over there.
Well, unless you do, you'll be
I know.
You'll be approaching me from the south.
Hang a minute. Get down here.
White City. Portobello Road.
Oh. Shoot up hill.
What'd you say?
Shoot up hill.
That's some drug reference.
Oh, no, we can do that. Norton's, if we're playing Norton's. Yeah, if we do one's court. That's in two. That's yours.
You can do it, yeah.
Earl's Court. Earl's
Southampton Row.
What? Oh, no, hang on, not Earl's Court, then. Arnos Grove.
Highbury.
Highbury. Hey, wait a minute. Berkeley Square.
That's the southern approach.
Yes, it's the southern approach.
Southern approach, Baz. You what?
It's the southern approach.
Blocking his southern approach.
And he's the poke holder.
I'm not blocking him. Adjudication, please, Hump.
I've forgotten what it was. I don't know what. I've forgotten what happened, so carry on. Go on, Linda.
Mornington Crescent.
Yes. The teams are going to delve into the world of proverbs now. Down the years, proverbs have provided an essential life code, but today many leave something to be desired. For example, whilst it's still true that you can't make a silk purse out of a pig's ear, there's certainly nothing to stop you making a pork pie. And while we're on the subject, it's not the broth but the TV schedule that's spoilt by too many cooks. Okay, teams, I have with me a list of popular and useful proverbs, but it's a cryptic list because instead of the full proverb, all you get to go on is the first letter of each word. The question is, can you tell me the actual saying from these letters alone? Let's find out. Okay, Graeme, we'll start with you. Can you tell us what popular proverb these letters stand for? CHWH.
Cheap hat, wet head.
Cold hands, warm heart.
Oh.
Right, now you, Linda, can you tell us what useful rule of thumb these letters might stand for? BITTW.
BITTW. Could it be a proverb much in use in the White House? Bomb Iraq, Tuesdays, Thursdays and weekends.
Blood is thicker than water. Now it's your turn, Tim. What useful advice might these letters stand for? FWBNP.
This is a proverb for four-wheel drive owners. FW, 4 wheels but no passengers.
Fine words, butter no parsnips. Finally, Barry, what useful saying is encapsulated in these 5 letters? AWPNB.
All wet pants need boiling.
That's not a proverb, that's a sign up in the home and you know it.
Another sign next to it says, a watched pot never boils. I've got a complaint about this script. I've just said, finally, Barry, and now it says, OK, let's try some more. Talk about broken promises. Here are some for any of you to have a go at. BCBC.
BCBC. I think that's the well-known showbiz proverb. Barry Cryer bankrolls Carlsberg.
I think there's another one. BCBC. Be kind to bad spellers.
The answer is beggars can't be choosers. Oh. There is a spoonerism there, but I won't say it because I'll get sued. What about these letters? Anyone? TNTLTP.
Oh, TNTLTP, that's advice when jogging in St. Peter's Square in Rome. Try not to lap the Pope.
Of course, there's no time like the present. It's music time again with Swanee Kazoo. This is the round in which the teams perform instrumental duets to combine the emollient lilt of the Swanee whistle with the jaunty rasp of the kazoo. Once an unlikely combination, the Swanee whistle and the kazoo now go together as naturally as egg and chips, sausage and mash, chocolate and pudding, or morbid and obesity. Piano accompaniment will be provided by Colin Sell. Listeners may be interested to learn that some years ago Colin came very close to winning the Leeds piano competition. If only he'd bought those 2 extra raffle tickets. OK, we'll start with you, Barry and Graeme, and I'd like you to provide us with a rendition of Getting to Know You from The King and I. Right, that's enough tuning up. Can you play... Your turn now, Tim and Linda, and I'd like you to provide us with a rendition of the popular round, Row, Row, Row Your Boat. Well, I notice it's very nearly time to end the show, but we can just squeeze in a round of Hirsute Persons Film Club. Samantha tells me she has to nip off to see her gentleman beautician friend now, who does a leg hair treatment for her. He lays ribbons of sticky waxed paper on her thighs and then lets them dry. Then, Samantha says, she likes to watch as he rips the paper strips and wax off for her. So while she's away enjoying that, I'd like you please, teams, to suggest movie titles likely to delight an enthusiastically hairy audience. Tim, will you start, please?
Harry Potter.
Barry.
I Was Monty's Stubble.
Linda.
12 Tangly Men.
Graeme.
Robo-mop.
Shaving Private Ryan. Or Shaving Ryan's Private.
The Long, the Short and the Curlies.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
Thoroughly Modern Mullet.
Hairy Queen of Scots.
The Postmen All Wear Ringlets Twice.
Pubic Enemy number 1. Better out than in.
Oh, there's a curl in my soup. Bring me the head and shoulders of Alfredo.
It's time now to end the show. But first I've been asked to make a short announcement. We understand from the theatre management that there have been complaints that certain members of the audience couldn't hear the show. Our sincere apologies go to anyone who was unable to swap seats with them. So from the team, Samantha, myself and the good folk of Basingstoke, it's goodbye.
Cryer, Graeme Garden, Tim Brooke-Taylor and Linda Smith were being given silly things to do by Humphrey Lyttleton, with Colin setting some of them to music. The programme consultant was Ian Pattinson and the producer was John Naismith. We present I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue, the antidote to panel games. At the piano is Colin and your chairman is Humphrey Lyttleton.
Hello and welcome to I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue. You join us this week in Kingston upon Hull, a fine city boasting an impressive history. During Tudor times, Hull's customs levies on Humber shipping resulted in a feud with neighbouring Beverley. Eventually, the nuns at Beverley Convent rose in revolt and laid siege to Hull. This worried Henry VIII, who sent a heavily armed force immediately he heard the town was being terrorised by the Beverley sisters. At the outbreak of World War II, many trawlers were converted as minesweepers, and it was Hull sailors who helped clear the way for Churchill's Allied landings, before he expanded next door as Allied carpets. The mighty Humber suspension bridge was opened by the Queen in 1981. Linking Willoughby with Barton upon Humber, the structure was at that time the longest and most expensive single-span concrete supported bridge in the world, that connected two places no one wants to go to. A famous name associated with Hull is that of Philip Larkin, who was librarian at the university for 30 years. The famous poet, jazz lover and collector of pornography died here in 1985, having contracted terminal tennis elbow. Let's meet the teams. They are four veteran comedians who, after all these years in the business, are simply incapable of writing a bad joke. You'd think by now they'd have progressed at least that far. On my left, Barry Cryer and Graeme Garden. And on my right, Tim Brooke-Taylor and Andy Hamilton. And taking her seat next to me, our lovely scorer and assistant, who has for many years been the team's right hand, the delightful Samantha. Okay, we start with a round that's all about mottos. So teams, I'd like you please to suggest mottos likely to be adopted by certain societies, businesses, governments or other organisations. Barry, you can start.
The online auction setup, this is for glue, it's called eBay Gum.
Graeme.
The motto of Gamblers Anonymous, bet you don't know who we are.
Motto of the shoemakers, always knowingly undersold.
Andy.
Virgin Trains, this motto has been withdrawn. Due to it being the wrong kind of motto.
The Association of Plagiarists, who dares wins.
The Association of Pedicurists. I came, I saw, I corn-cured.
This is the personal motto of Geoffrey Archer. A friend in need is a potential alibi.
One belonging to the Literal Society. We are the Literal Society.
The Jehovah's Witnesses. When one door closes, so do all the others.
The Car Mechanics Club. Piston broke, we can help.
UKIP. If in doubt, hit a Frenchman.
The famous Jamaican Italian Food Drive-Through Association. Rasta Pasta Fasta.
The Oxford English Dictionary. Precision is our what's name.
David Beckham's brain surgeon. Mind the gap.
Hitchcock trusses. Masters of suspense.
Right, let's move on to some music, with one song to the tune of another. This is where the teams sing novel combinations of lyrics and tunes, and I have to say that for me this will be like a dream come true. Does anyone else have that dream? The one where you're trapped in a room with 1,500 other people with their fingers stuck in their ears? This round requires musical accompaniment, and listeners will be interested to learn that back in the 70s, our resident pianist played with Johnny Rotten and Sid Vicious, which was when he took the equally off-putting stage name of Colin. Okay, we'll start with you, Barry. Would you please sing the words of When I See an Elephant Fly to the tune of Marlene Dietrich's lovely Falling in Love Again?
I saw a peanut stand, heard a rubber band. I saw a needle that winked its eye. But I think I will have seen everything when I see an elephant fly. I saw a front porch swing, heard a diamond ring. I saw a polka dot railroad tie. I was never a Nazi, but I think I will have seen everything when I see an elephant fly.
And you actually managed to look like Marlene Dietrich.
Oh.
You now, Tim, would you sing the words of the old spiritual Dry Bones to the tune of We'll Gather Lilacs?
The foot bone connected to the leg bone. The leg bone connected to the knee bone. The knee bone connected to the thigh bone. The thigh bone connected to the backbone. The backbone connected to the neck bone. The neck bone connected to the head bone. Oh, hear the word of the Lord. Them bones, them dry bones.
Andy, now, would you sing the words of So Macho by Sunita to the tune of the Marseillaise?
I don't want no 7-stone weakling or a boy who thinks he's a girl. I'm after a hunk of a guy, an experienced man of the world. There ain't no way that I'll make do with anything less than I'm used to. If I have a man's right, he's gotta be right. So macho he's got to be, so macho he's got to be, big and strong, enough to turn me on. He's got to have big blue eyes, be able to satisfy. He's got to be big and strong enough to turn me on.
And a short ripple for the audience for never once landing on the right beat.
They were just trying to get me through it quicker. I could see through that. I wasn't falling for any of that.
And finally, Graeme, would you please sing the words of "I'm a Little Teapot" to the tune of "O Soli Mio"?
I'm a little teapot, a short and stout. Here is my handle, here is my spout. When I get all steamed up, hear me shout, tip me over and pour me out.
Right. How fun there was in that. Hang on, there's a misprint. What fun was there in that? The teams are now going to bring to the show an element of mystery combined with danger as they play Russian roulette. I've been wanting to play this round for ages, so you can imagine my delight when, while clearing out the children's old dressing-up box, I discovered my old service revolver and several rounds of live ammunition. Samantha has been specially cleaning and oiling the trusty old fellow, and I'm pleased to say it's now ready to shoot. Now, I have to stress that under no circumstances should this round be tried at home. Neither, for that matter, should any of the others. On my command, Samantha will pass my revolver to the first player. After spinning the cylinder, this player, through the power of his mind alone, will attempt to divine whether or not the chamber is loaded. If he considers it's not loaded, then he should prove this by placing the gun to his head and pulling the trigger. He should then pass the pistol to his right, if he still can. For the next player to repeat the process. Anyone whose paranormal senses tell them that the gun is about to fire should point it away and shoot. I hope you've been listening, teams. I don't want this going in one ear and out the other. Okay, Samantha, will you pass the revolver to Graeme now, please? Okay, when you're ready, Graeme.
Thank you, Samantha. Quite heavy, isn't it? Right. Better spin the cylinder. And a good old spin. And can't be too careful. Right. I'll cock the pistol. And I've got one chance in 6 here of it being live. I'm pretty sure I'm safe with this one, but just to be extra safe, I'm going to point it out at the audience and pull the trigger now.
Oh, that was lucky. Go. Could you just pass it over?
There you go.
Gosh, it is heavy.
Just hold it away.
I didn't know they had service revolvers at Waterloo. I'll just spin this. I just feel confident about this, and I'm going to fire off five shots. Wish me luck.
Oh, Tim.
Is this sensible?
Well, I mean...
Okay, here we go. A bit stupid, but I got away with it, Baz.
Thank you. Okay, spin, cock, and the decision has to be made. I'm going to point it over my shoulder.
Oh, yes!
Dear.
I think
well, after that incident...
He was just grazed. He's all right.
Just grazed. He's river. Andy, I'm shattered, but have the gun now.
All right, well, I think I'm fairly safe, so I'll spin, and I'll cock, and I think I'll... I'm sorry, but that cat was really getting on my nerves. It's a theatre cat.
Theatre cat.
Called Lucky. Okay, so that's... Graeme, it's your go again.
Okay. Piece of cake now, this. There we go. Oh! Oh, they're firing back at us.
Get the audience in a circle, quick!
Our next round takes a look at odd medical conditions. In fact, I understand our own Tim Brooke-Taylor has recently been suffering a very rare tropical disease. Frostbite. The round operates like a standard doctor's surgery in which the patient describes the symptoms of his complaint, upon which the doctor will base his diagnosis. To add a touch of realism, the teams have been waiting outside for 3 hours reading a 1978 edition of Knitting Pattern Monthly. OK, we'll start with you, Tim and Andy. You're suffering from an unusual medical complaint and have just been called for your appointment with Doctors Barry and Graeme. The identity of your complaint is now being displayed to the audience via the laser display screen. For listeners at home, here's the mystery voice.
Tim and Andy have John Prescott syndrome. John Prescott syndrome.
Right, Tim and Andy, start outlining your complaint now, please.
Well, it's a communication disorder. It's an inability to get. Tim's got it as well.
I've got a bit of it because sometimes I can't quite get to
the end of those things. But actually, I want to go back on something that you said earlier because it's quite an interesting thing. No, be quiet. I'll have to punch you. It's a fear of the end of things.
But you never quite reach.
No, and no one ever quite knows what you.
You never know if you're going to get there.
But everyone's listening.
Even with 2 cars.
On tenterhooks with 2 cars. That's it.
Yeah.
There couldn't be a hull connection, could there?
There could be.
Yeah. There could be.
This is just nonsense, isn't it?
Yes.
Well,
nonsense is involved.
I don't think that's entirely fair because we have been consistent in our
consistent. Just getting to the end of the fear of the full thingy and the commas and the.
I think you two are suffering from being the person who, rather frighteningly, is occasionally in charge of the country.
It's John Prescott syndrome, or to use the correct medical term, gramophobia.
Oh, right.
OK, your turn to be the patients, Barry and Graeme, and you've just been summoned into the surgery of Dr. Andy and Dr. Tim. The identity of your mystery medical condition will now be displayed to the audience via the laser display board, while here again is the mystery voice for listeners at home.
Barry and Graeme think they are snowmen. Barry and Graeme think they are snowmen.
Barry and Graeme, would you outline your symptoms, please?
Yeah,
and then Tim and Andy, will you guess? Right, I'm off.
Is it me or is it hot in here?
Oh, something about you is dripping off me. Oh, I don't know. It's just general feeling of no get up and go, really.
No, I know. Smell of carrots is driving me mad.
And I've got that gritty feeling in my eyes. Can you see anything in that eye? What? Coal dust or something?
Yeah, I know.
Is it seasonal?
It's seasonal, yeah.
Well, I'm losing weight and it gets worse in the spring. Look at me, my arms are like twigs.
I've got this clay pipe and I don't even bloody smoke.
That's why you lost your legs, is it?
Is that an icicle, or are you pleased to see me?
Do you ever feel like you're sort of walking in the air at all?
Oh, please!
No, you've got it now. Oh, I think you're abominable. And you could be snowman.
On we go to the next game. The teams are now going to take us back to the golden age of correspondence. The art of letter writing has largely died out these days, in part thanks to our country's declining standards of literacy, which are absolutely appalling. It says here, appealing. In this round, each team will take it in turns to improvise the letters of two famous historical figures who corresponded with one another. Tim and Andy will start by composing a letter from Neville Chamberlain to Adolf Hitler. Then Barry and Graeme will come up with the reply, and so on. However, the challenge is that the letters must be constructed by each panellist, alternating one word at a time. Right, off you go, Tim and Andy.
Dear
Mr.
Hitler.
Who?
Do
you.
think
you
are
if
I
ask
in
my
humble
way
is
it
true
that
you
only
have
recently invaded
one
country,
namely
Poland.
Yours,
Edna
Smith.
PP
Adolf. No, so Neville.
Chamberlain.
Mine.
Herr.
Nev.
I
very
much
enjoyed
your
letter,
but
I
have
to
say
that
I
am
very disturbed.
Full stop.
However,
we
would
like
to
see
your
smiling
army
going
through
the
outskirts
of
Berlin,
as
we
are
ready
and
able
and
willing And eager. And buoyant.
Although
we
are
not
very
confident
or
assured
or
complacent,
although
we
are
convinced
and
confident
that
we
will
win
yours sincerely,
full
Adolf.
Well, it's very nearly the end of the show, but there's just time to squeeze in a round of Lawyer's Songbook. Samantha has to nip out now. She tells us she's just qualified to become a magistrate, judging the cases of criminals, and is very keen to try a few hardened ones on the bench. So while she's away, I'd like you teams to suggest titles of songs that might appeal to an audience drawn from the legal profession. Graeme, will you start, please?
I'm going to sit right down and charge you £500 for a letter.
Tim?
Who were you with last night?
How can you believe me when I said I loved you when you know I've been a lawyer all my life?
Andy?
The slightly sycophantic Malud, glorious Malud.
Wouldn't it be robbery?
Do you know the way to sue Jose?
Hit me with your libel writ by Ian Jury.
I've got one that is very popular with barristers. Does your chewing gum lose its flavour on the bedpost overnight, yes or no?
QC, gander.
Sitting in the dock of the Bailey.
Unchained felony.
Paint your wig on.
Ain't no maintenance high enough.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of this week's show. But if you missed any of the broadcasts, tuned in late, or have only just switched on, then you can visit the BBC website, where there are full, easy-to-follow instructions on how to read a wristwatch. So, from the team, Samantha, myself, and the good folk of Hull, it's goodbye.
Barry Cryer, Graeme Garden, Andy Hamilton and Tim Brooke-Taylor were being given silly things to do by Humphrey Lyttleton, with Colin setting some of them to music. The programme consultant was Ian Pattinson and the producer was John Naismith. We present I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue, the antidote to panel games. At the piano is Colin and your chairman is Humphrey Lyttleton.
Hello and welcome to I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue. You join us for a second visit to Hull, the mighty port on the River Humber. The original name of Kingston upon Hull was Sire Creek, an Old Norse term which experts have translated as Kingston upon Hull. Hull is famous for its mystery plays and regularly stages the story of Noah's Ark. Each year there's great competition among the women folk here to be chosen to play the part of his wife Joan. However, proceedings were interrupted in 1997 when real animals from the town zoo were employed. Two giant pandas, An and Ling Ling, who hadn't previously mated for 15 years, became overexcited and were visibly frustrated when they had to be separated by their keepers, Git Git and Bastard Bastard. In the 1960s, Hull became the birthplace of the discount trading warehouse, with the comic chain starting here. 40 years on, comic stores pride themselves that their staff can tell you everything they know about a product in under 4 seconds. The city is home to the new National Sardine Museum, which was opened recently by the mayor, or at least it would have been if the key hadn't immediately snapped off. Our teams this week are comprised of 4 performers who come from a long line of comedians. Those queues don't get any shorter at the soup kitchen. They are on my left, Graeme Garden and Barry Cryer. And on my right, Tim Brooke-Taylor and Andy Hamilton. And back for another good hard session on the scoring desk, please welcome the ever delightful Samantha. Okay, let's kick off with a look at the meanings of words. English is a rich and varied language, but the subtleties of inference can be confusing to the uneducated ear. For example, many don't understand the difference in meaning between the terms hope and aspire. Well, those of us who've taken the trouble to look them up know that hope means both to have a desire for something and the expectancy of its fulfillment, whereas aspire is the pointy bit on a church. The meanings of words are constantly shifting, teams, and I'd like you to share with us any new definitions you may have spotted recently. So, Andy, would you care to start, please?
Dossier, a French tramp.
Graeme.
Scandal, footwear you should be ashamed of.
Tim.
Arsenic. I've just sat on a razor blade.
Vanish, rather like a van.
Organism, an irrational prejudice against Wurlitzers.
Cannibalistic, a Geordie missile.
Wolverine, a product for cleaning wolves.
Bigamist, a larger than usual fog.
Testicular, a vampire who talks bollocks.
Retard, very difficult in Yorkshire.
Harpist, fairly drunk.
Weight machine, a virgin train.
Bishopric, unpopular member of the clergy.
Weight watcher, virgin passenger.
Sea legs, the eggs of the seal.
Cabbage, the opinions of taxi drivers.
Substitute, an underwater hooker.
Mayfly, a virgin plane.
OK, the teams are going to sing along now with some well-known discs in the game called Pick Up Song. Samantha makes regular visits down to the gramophone library to choose the team's records, and just recently she's also been helping the old archivists with their new sound insulation. Tomorrow she's going to get acoustic tiles up in the studio, and if there's time she's hoping to get felt up in the office. Back now in DJ mode, Samantha is poised over the turntable and ready to give the selected discs a spin. You should sing along, teams, until at my signal Samantha turns the volume down. You should continue singing, and if when the music returns you're within a gnat's crotchet of the original, I'll be awarding points, and points mean prizes. Can we fix it? Better to do it now than in the bus on the way home. This week's prize will ideally suit any homeowner who wants to get that authentic inner-city Cardiff effect in their kitchen. It's this lovely Welsh dosser. We'll start with you, Barry. Would you please accompany Al Jolson singing Swanee?
Swanee, how I love you, my dear old Swanee. I'd give the world to be among the folks in DIX. I even know my mammy's waiting for me, praying for me down by the Swanee. The folks up north will see me no more when I get to that Swanee shore. Swanee, Swanee, I'm coming back to Swanee. Mammy, Mammy. Oh!
OK, your turn, Tim. I'd like you to accompany Gary Jules singing his recent #1, Mad World.
Familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces. Bright and early for the daily races, going nowhere. Am I boring you? Their tears are filling up their glasses. No expression, no expression. Hide my head, I wanna drown my sorrow. No tomorrow, no tomorrow. And I find it kind of funny, I find it kind of sad. The dreams in which I die are the best I've ever had. I find it hard to tell you, I find it hard to take. When people run in circles, it's a very, very mad world.
Okay.
I just think Tim shouldn't have been put through that.
No.
or you.
You now, Graeme, would you please accompany... Oh, wait a minute, I don't like that, please. Makes me sound as though I'm looking forward to it. Graeme, would you accompany the Rolling Stones singing Satisfaction?
Thank you.
I can't get no satisfaction. I can't get no satisfaction, 'cause I try, and I try, and I try, and I try. I can't get no, I can't get any. When I'm driving in my car, and that man comes on the radio and he's telling me more and more about some useless information that's supposed to fire my imagination. I can't get any.
Who knew? Hey. That's what I say. I can't get no sign.
At least that was better than the original. Finally, Andy, would you please accompany local boy Fatboy Slim singing Funk Soul Brother?
The Funk Soul Brother, check it out now. The Funk Soul Brother, right about now. The Funk Soul Brother, check it out now. The Funk Soul Brother, right about now. The Funk Soul, all together now, check it out now. The Funk Soul Brother, right about now. The Funk Soul Brother, right about now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right about now. The Funk Soul Brother, check it out now. The Funk Soul Brother, try the Funk Soul Brother. I just never got on top of the melody in that at all.
Well, the teams are now going to perform some sound charades in the round based on the erstwhile TV favourite Give Us a Clue. In the original, mimes were performed in total silence. However, if our teams mimed their charades on the radio, the listeners at home might sit stony-faced, wondering what the audience was laughing at. By allowing the teams to speak, we neatly eradicate the problem of unexplained laughter. The Grand Master who Give Us a Clue was, of course, Lionel Blair, but even he had the occasional day when he was off colour. However, Lionel could always rely on his loyal teammate Christopher Biggins to lend a hand whenever he was feeling a little dicky. Tim and Andy, you're to start, please, and your title will shortly be displayed to the audience via the laser display screen. For listeners at home, here's the mystery voice.
Fellini's 8.5. Fellini's 8.5.
Right, you're guessing this one, Barry and Graeme. Off you go, Tim and Andy.
It's a film.
The film.
2 and a bit words.
2 and a bit words. 2 and a bit. 2 and a bit words. And it's a film.
Yeah.
See.
What's it called?
Hey, Charles.
Hey,
you look a little bit like Signor Pavarotti.
Hey, I'm Italian.
Italia.
Yeah.
Where from come you, Italia?
It's a little known part of Italy.
And where is that?
Cardiff. We sing it. We sing for the bambino.
Oh, for the bambino.
We sing it. Happy birthday to you, little Luigi. Happy birthday. Wait a minute.
What
Wait a minute. His birthday is in June.
Is in June? Today it is December.
December. He's not 9 yet.
Oh, he's not 9.
The bambino is not 9 yet.
You're on the right lines there, Barry, I think.
I think the baby has reached the age of 8.
And a bit?
And a bit. Neat.
How much longer have they got, Hump?
8.5 seconds we've got. 8.5.
Fellini's, yeah.
Was it all a bit too real with
The accents were terrific.
Right, your turn, Barry and Graeme. Your title's now being exhibited on the laser display board, and here again is the mystery voice for listeners at home.
Die Another Day. Die Another Day.
This is a film. Film, pure and simple, yep.
3 words.
3 words.
Yeah. Hamish.
Dougal!
Hamish. What are you doing emerging from Big Tam's hair care salon?
Well, I looked in the mirror the other day and there was a bit of pepper and salt in there.
Things. Have you not washed your hair since the picnic?
No. I've felt the need to avail myself of some product.
Oh, aye, well, you'll have had your tint. You were telling me that you have postponed the colorizatory makeover.
I have indeed. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
So, actually, we've no idea whatsoever. Could it be the colour purple?
It could, but it isn't.
He's not had his hair coloured yet.
He's postponed the decision.
A bridge too far.
Die another day?
Yeah.
It's now time to play the game called Mornington Crescent. Before we start, I noticed down in the mailroom from the huge amount of correspondence stuffed in the pigeonhole that the pigeon can't sit down. And then we've received this card from a Mrs. Trellis of North Wales. She writes, "Dear Rolf, where can I learn to shoe horses? Or could you suggest a better way of getting them off my lawn?" Oh, sincerely, Mrs. Trellis. Right, on with the game, teams. And this week, I've unearthed an early Tudor version of the game called Mornington Crescent. This was played at court, with each move having to be officially sanctioned by the king, who acted as umpire. Only a short extract from the original rule parchment survives, which I'll read for you now. "If ye wilt come unto Mornington Crescent, stray not within the bounds of the mighty Thames, nor can Tyburn be reached without sacrifice of Ruffles Square, Cockfosters, or Febham Fifters." So, teams, this is furious. Pull your fox up and pull your fox up and no fodding about. Tim, you can fire. You can start now.
Belfast Park.
Oxford Street. Go that after Belfast Park. Sorry, I don't want to teach my grandmother to suck eggs. God, that was a dangerous moment.
It's my go, yeah?
It's your go.
Careful.
Sloane Square.
Well, if you're going there, then Elephant and Castle.
Pimlico.
You fly fod. Fuppick's Garden.
Elves Court.
Have to go on Fairlop. That's all we can do.
Mornington Crescent.
In this next round, the teams are going to be tested on their knowledge of song lyrics. The importance of song lyrics is often overlooked. Lyricists rarely receive the recognition they deserve. Their names often barely remembered. Think of the great musicals. Where would Rogers have been without Hammersmith? Or Andrew Lloyd Webber without Mandy Rice Davies? Teams, I brought along a selection of well-known song lyrics, but these are incomplete. Your task is to provide the succeeding lines. OK, we'll start with you, Graeme. Purple haze was in my brain. Lately things don't seem the same. Acting funny, but I don't know why. Excuse me.
No problem, Humph. Ready when you are.
The right answer is While I Kiss the Sky.
Oh.
You now, Tim, complete these opening lines, please. Put a nickel in the telephone and dial my baby's name. No, I didn't do it. You can't dial a baby's name. You used to be able to with the old dialing system. I'll say that again. I put a nickel in the telephone and dialed my baby's number. Got a
call centre in Bombay.
The answer, of course, is brr, 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 busy line. Andy, now, some song lyrics for you to finish off. The sun is out, the sky is blue, there's not a cloud to spoil the view, but it's...
Not how it looked in the brochure somehow, is it?
The answer is raining, raining in my heart. Barry, can you complete these opening lyrics? Where has thou been sin I saw thee on
the telecution course.
Of course, the answer is... Still don't understand it.
Without a hat. Bart hat is without a hat.
Well, why don't they...
Because we're the salt of the earth, that's why.
I have to say that a Yorkshireman came up to me at a gig and said, Humphrey, I'm a blunt man and I say what I think. So I said, so am I, piss off.
And what did Parkinson say then?
You again, Graeme. Complete this opening line for us, please. For me, please. Not for us. Well, maybe for us as well. Very much noted. You again, Graeme. Complete this opening for me, please. Oh, I'll say that again. With a bit more enthusiasm. You again, Graeme. Complete this opening line for me, please. Now, it's been alone with you inside my mind, and in my dreams I've kissed your lips 1,000 times. I sometimes see you pass outside my door. Hello.
We're just going into a tunnel.
The answer is it me you're looking for? Tim, yes? You now, can you complete these lines? Humidity is rising, barometer's getting low. According to all sources, the street's the place to go. Because tonight, for the first time, just about 10:30, for the first time in history, it's...
A repeat of the goodies.
The answer, of course, is gonna start raining men. Andy, how about this? She called me Mr. Bombastic, say me fantastic, touch me on me back, she say...
I'm Anne Widdecombe and I've had a few.
What a picture.
The answer is, I'm Mr. Romantic. Finally, Barry, can you finish this off? Birds do it, bees do it, even educated fleas do it. Let's do it, let's...
Crap on a statue.
The answer is fall in love.
Oh.
I notice it's very nearly the end of the show, but there's just time for a round of Glutton's Film Club. Samantha tells me she's off to meet a gentleman friend who's taking her out to a restaurant that specialises in special combination pudding desserts. She says he can't resist a sticky tart with a sponge finger inside. So while she's away enjoying that, I'd like the teams to suggest movie titles certain to enthrall an audience of overeaters. And you can start, Andy.
That great Howard Keel musical, 7 Pies for One Brother.
Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Scone.
Charlie at the Chocolate Factory.
Hello, Mr. Chips.
Gladiator.
Mary's Poppin.
They stew horses, don't they?
Dial B for burger.
Bring me the helping of Alfredo Garcia.
The Tennessee Williams classic, A Streetcar-Sized Dessert.
The pie that came in from the cold. Pies like us. Ace Ventura, Pie Detective.
Who's Afraid of Virginia Ham?
Gone with the Wind.
Who ate Roger Rabbit?
From Korea, 101 Dalmatians.
The Ugly Dumpling.
The Sandwiches of Iwo Jima.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, before we end the show, I have to advise listeners that BBC Radio has an audience reaction phone line. Anyone who has enjoyed the show and wishes to register their comments can ring 08700 100 222. Alternatively, if you have any complaints or criticisms of the show, then you can shut your face. So from the team, Samantha, myself and the good folk of Hull, it's goodbye.
Barry Cryer, Graeme Garden, Andy Hamilton and Tim Brooke-Taylor were being given silly things to do by Humphrey Lyttleton, with Colin setting some of them to music. The programme consultant was Ian Pattinson and the producer was John Naismith. We present I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue, the antidote to panel games. At the piano is Colin and your chairman is Humphrey Lyttleton.
Hello and welcome to I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue. You join us this week amid the Regency splendour of Royal Tunbridge Wells in the county of Kent. The area suffered a decline in the 16th century when a weak and vulnerable populace was cruelly exploited at the hands of a number of landed families. There were the Knatchbulls of Merton and the Sackvilles of Knowle, but things worsened still with the arrival of the notorious Alders of Croydon. Tunbridge Wells proper was founded in 1606 when natural springs were discovered here and the town's mattress industry began. During the 17th century, the town began to welcome the well-heeled due to the absence of shoe repair shops. Many arrived to take the restorative mineral waters, and even King Charles I came here, hoping to cure his chronic dandruff. A problem that was eventually solved by major surgery. After which, royal appointment was awarded to his regular brand of shampoo, which was specially renamed, and shoulders. The elegance of the spa years lives on in the area known as the Pantiles, a colonnaded walkway named after the pavement of clay tiles. After her son slipped and fell there, Queen Anne famously paid for Tunbridge Wells to be provided with stone flags. But since no one could get them up the poles, they ended up on the floor. 1735 saw the arrival here of Beau Nash, who appointed himself Master of Ceremonies and formulated some strict rules of etiquette. These included which fork you picked your nose with, and that a gentleman should always take his hat off if a lady walks past the window he's urinating out of. For centuries, the main industry here was the production of hops. As a consequence, the countryside is scattered with many oast houses, where Kent's traditional rural crafts are still practised, such as tarting them up and flogging them off for 3/4 of a million quid. During the Second World War, Kent was under the main flight path to London for German aircraft, and Tunbridge Wells was heavily bombed. But the Luftwaffe aren't alone in coming here to bomb heavily. Let's meet the teams. On my left, Barry Cryer and Graeme Garden. And on my right, Tim Brooke-Taylor and Jack Dee. And please welcome the lovely lady whose enthusiasm and eagerness to score makes things easy for us. The delightful Samantha. Okay, let's get on with it. I don't want to be here all night. Actually, I don't want to be here at all. We start with a round of missed hits. Possibly the most important element in selling a show is the title. One prime example is Waking the Dead, or as we know it, the continuity announcement straight after quote unquote. So teams, I'd like you please to suggest films, books and TV or radio shows that flopped for want of a decent title. Barry, you can start.
The Mattress Reloaded.
Graeme.
The Inedibles.
Tim.
Strictly Come Spanking.
Jack.
Oh, look, here's Godot.
Shakespeare in Hove.
My Dad's the Home Secretary.
Lady Windermere's Pan.
The National Pottery.
If I'm a celebrity, what am I doing here?
Snickers Man.
There was a missed one in Wales, Dial M for Merthyr.
Punch and Judy with Richard.
The Gangs of New Malden.
Okay, in this next round, the teams will take turns to play the parts of doctors and their patients. The patients will be suffering from an obscure condition which the medical team should try to diagnose. Ironically, Tim has recently contracted an unusual ailment. He went snow-blind after flicking through his bookings diary. And coincidentally, Barry recently endured a difficult operation on his knees, but he eventually managed to get his key in the front door. We're going to start with you, Tim and Jack. You're suffering from an unusual medical complaint and have just been called for your appointment by Doctors Barry and Graeme. You must outline your symptoms to them, and they will be awarded points based on how accurately they're able to diagnose your condition. The identity of your complaint is now being displayed to our theatre audience via the laser display screen. For listeners at home, here's the mystery voice.
Tim and Jack think that they're teenagers. Tim and Jack think that they're teenagers.
Right, Tim and Jack, start outlining your complaint now, please.
Now, what seems to be the trouble?
As if you'd care. What do you think, Jack?
It's not really a problem as such.
No.
Good. Next, please.
That is so typical of you.
We don't want to be here in the first place.
Especially if you don't care.
No.
There's a feeling of rejection about here, isn't there?
Yes.
Oh, why don't we just forget about the whole thing?
Okay, goodbye.
Nobody understands them, I don't think. No. This is their belief.
They don't seem to feel appreciated or loved, do they?
Low self-esteem may be involved in this, I think.
And quite right, too, if you ask me.
Yes, indeed.
Are we there yet?
There's a childish quality of
Oh, you are... You are such sad doctors.
You could be almost teenagers.
Yeah. OK, your turn to be the patients now, Barry and Graeme. The identity of your mystery medical condition will now be displayed to the audience via the laser display board. Well, here again is the mystery voice for listeners at home.
Barry and Graeme suffer from a fear of Anton Deck. A fear of Anton Deck.
So, tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Well, right. I'd like to say that we're not imagining it. It's real. It is.
It's the last year or so, but it's become progressive and it's building up. Sometimes we feel there's no way out, there's no escape. We're trapped in it. We're desperate.
It's hard to avoid.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you can't shift them.
Where can we go next? The authorities don't care, do they?
They don't care.
The encouraging thing is we found out we're not alone. People are forming support groups.
I mean, they're ashamed to admit they've got them, but, you know, once you own up, you've got them in the house.
So are we talking a phobia of some sort here that's...
Well, yes. Well, but with good reason.
It's not irrational.
Well, in a word, what's your problem? Worth a try.
Is it a phobia of animals or of heights or what is it?
Ghosts.
Insects. What do you got?
Neighbours.
Insects is gross.
Fear of insects.
Yes.
Is it a common thing?
It's widespread now.
You never know where they're going to pop up next.
Can you say so? There are more than one of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are there a lot more than one of them?
Well, you never see one on its own.
To the tune of one.
There are two of them. Two insects. Two insects.
Well,
no, that's rather harsh phraseology.
So
one insect.
Oh, one insect. Okay. Anton Deck.
We move on to a round that's all about advertising, slogans and jingles. Oh. I'm actually quite an aficionado of TV commercials, and I particularly used to enjoy that one featuring those monkeys dressed in human clothes. You know, the ones who used to advertise Quick Fit. Teams, I brought along a selection of incomplete advertising slogans from past and present, and to test your advertising knowledge, I'd like you to supply the missing endings. OK, we'll start with you, Tim. Can you complete the following well-known advertising slogan? Only the crumbliest, flakiest...
People take part in I'm a Celebrity, get me out of here.
Well, the correct answer is chocolate. Tastes like chocolate never tasted before. Your turn, Barry. How about this one? 8 out of 10 owners said their cats...
From the back look like pencil sharpeners.
Well, the real answer is prefer it. Jack, can you finish off this one? You're never alone with a...
Stalker.
This is going back a bit. Strand. How about this one, Graeme? The stain says hot, the label says...
Don't believe the talking stain.
Audience, what's the answer? Not yes, of course. OK, here are some for anyone to have a go at. It's too orangey for crows, it's just for...
Robert Kilroy's silk.
The answer is me and my dog. You'll wonder where the yellow went when you...
Wash your bed sheets.
The answer, of course, is brush your teeth with Pepsodent. And how about this one? Churchill, surprisingly passionate about...
8:30. In my experience.
The answer is insurance. Here's one. See the face you love light up with...
Nay palm olive shaving gel.
The answer is Terry's all gold. Hands that do dishes can feel soft as your face with...
Pond's face hardening cream.
Mild green fairy liquid is the answer. Milky Way, the sweet you can eat between meals without losing your...
Precious place in the dinner queue, fatty.
The answer is appetite. And finally, do you love someone enough to give them...
Chlamydia. That was a public information joke.
The boring answer is your last Rolo. Okay, in the next round the teams will take turns to play the parts of characters from history. It's what we call typecasting. Their task is to take us back to the golden age of letter writing. It was a time when the likes of Samuel Pepys would sit at his writing desk with an array of quill pens and gaze out of the window for inspiration from the flocks of bald pigeons. Tim and Jack will start by composing a letter from David Beckham to Posh Spice. And then Barry and Graeme will come up with the reply, and so on. However, the challenge is that the letters must be constructed by each panellist alternating one word at a time. Immediately after one team has signed off their letter, the opposing team should begin to compose their reply. And when I honk my horn, it's the end of the correspondence. Oh, no. I nearly peaked too soon. Off you go, Tim and Jack.
Dear
Victoria,
I
am
having
a
wonderful
time
here
writing
to
you.
But
I
wish
you
were
here
with
me.
Wherever
You
think
I
am.
love
From
David.
Dear Dave, thank you for your letter, but I do have to insist that you come home immediately, or I will institute a legal and binding yet accommodating order to compel you to return my caftan and my dictionary. Yours, Posh.
It says here, I say, let's do another one. This time we'll examine the lost correspondence between God and Adam. And you can start us off this time, please. Barry and Graeme.
Dear Adam,
How
are
you?
hoping
David Beckham is God.
hoping
Your point being? What was your last one?
hoping
This
finds
you
as
it
leaves
me.
I would like to point out that
The current bylaws
prohibit
Apple
appropriation
and
furthermore
the
taking
of
any
photographs
of
each
one
when
they
are
in
a
compromising
yet
understandable
position
in
flagrante
in
the
Garden
of
Eden.
must
Dash
cheers
for
now
your
faithful
mate
God.
Dear
God.
is
That
really
necessary
because
I
am
not
going
to
eat
the
apple
in
the
garden
which
you
kindly
keep
up
in
the
tree.
Eve
Is
presently
not
very
well.
she
Fancies
the
apple.
and
I
don't
want
to
encourage
such
activity.
with
Your
serpent
knowing
that
that
is
not
what
you
want.
There are a few typos in the letter. Anyway,
Where
do
you
get
fig leaves
also
might
you
suggest
an
alternative
form
of
clothing
which
we
can
wear
on
Sundays
and
look
like
nice people. I usually do this on my own.
lots
Of
love
and
kisses
respectfully
Adam.
The teams are going to sing for us now. In the round called Just a Minute, in which the teams attempt to sing well-known songs without hesitation, deviation, boutros, gali, or repetition. This is a musical version of the long-running wireless favourite, Just a Minute, and if you think that's wackily hilarious, well, this is really something else. The show's host is the incomparable Nicholas Parsons, the reason so many loyal listeners swear by their radios. Piano accompaniment will be provided by Colin Sell. Actually, listeners will be impressed to learn that back in the 60s, Colin asked Mick Jagger and Keith Richards if he could take the place of Brian Jones. They said yes and threw him in the swimming pool. Okay, the song I'd like you to sing without hesitation, deviation or repetition is Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, and I'd like you to start, please, Barry.
Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Dangle down, fragrant vehicle, arriving to convey me to my domicile. I looked over Jordan.
Deviation, looking over Jordan.
It's all right to keep your hands right.
I didn't think you could look over Jordan.
I'll certainly accept that. Carry on then, Tim.
Oh, God. And what did I see to pick me up and take me back? A band of angels coming after me, arriving and escorting me chez moi.
Barry.
A lot of me's.
Me.
Me. Typical. Adjudication, please, Hum.
Yes, carry on, Jack.
Swing low, sweet chariot, oscillate near the ground, nice car.
David Beckham's...
Go on, give it some. Taking me back to my place. If you get there before I do, dragging me to my pad, tell all my mates I'm arriving too. Drop me off at my house.
I don't think we never finished one before.
Well, it's very nearly the end of the show, but there's just time left for a round of Grumpy Songbook. Samantha tells me she has to nip off to meet her new gentleman friend who's been ringing her all day in a grumpy mood. Despite being very busy, Samantha says she can always find time to handle his testicles. So while she's attending to that, I'd like you please, teams, to suggest titles of songs likely to suit a grumpy audience. Graeme, will you start, please?
Hey, you! Get off my cloud.
Barry.
Strangers in the night. I've got me shotgun.
Tim.
I want a whiter shade of pale.
Jack.
I don't like Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays.
Once, twice, 3 times to the lavvy.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious my arse.
My arse, you say? My corns and bunions have never been worse. I'm frail, I've got bladder problems and bad breath. I'm supercalifragilistic exhaling halitosis.
Long in whining mode.
Frown Town by Petulant Clark.
Strop in the name of love.
I'm going to sit right down and write the council a letter.
Born to be vile.
Mona Lisa.
Well, ladies and gentlemen...
Eleanor Bloody Rigby.
76 sore bones. Where's the Lucasade?
Half a sixpence? What the bloody use is that?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as the cowboy of time surveys the range of infinity, and the housewife of doom is shocked by a bill of 90 quid an hour to fix the cooker of fate, I notice it's the end of the show. So from the team, Samantha, myself, and the good folk of Tunbridge Wells, it's goodbye.
Barry Cryer, Graeme Garden, Tim Brooke-Taylor and Jack Dean have been given silly things to do by Humphrey Lyttleton, with Colin setting some of them to music. The programme consultant was Ian Pattinson, and the producer was John Naismith. present I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue, the antidote to panel games. At the piano is Colin Sell and your chairman is Humphrey Lyttleton.
Hello and welcome to I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue. You join us for a second visit to Royal Tunbridge Wells in the fine county of Kent. I'm just thinking with horror, I very nearly read that wrong.
It was close.
It was not until 1909 that the town gained the right to call itself Royal Tunbridge Wells, when Edward VII granted his patronage after a visit to the spa here. The visit was a revelation for him, as he was normally a Tesco shopper. On the outskirts of the town are the interesting sandstone formations known as Toad Rock and High Rocks, which are used to train mountaineers. A young Ranulph Fiennes came here to practice and went on to make his first attempt on Annapurna, while her husband was working nights. Just a few miles out of town is found the home of Rudyard Kipling at Burwash. Kipling's If is one of the country's most popular poems. It's the one that starts, "If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs, then why not treat yourself to one of my exceedingly good cakes?" Other famous names associated with Tunbridge Wells include William Makepeace Thackeray and Oswald Let's Start a War Mosley. It was while living here that Thackeray wrote and published Vanity Fair, and then later Woman's Own, and Motorcycle Monthly. Let's meet the teams. They're four comedians whose jokes I can't get enough of. In fact, I hardly get any of them at all. On my left, Graeme and Barry Cryer. And on my right, Tim Brooke-Taylor and Jack D. And making herself comfortable as she settles down on my left hand, please welcome our delightful scorer, the lovely Samantha. Okay, we begin with an educational round this week. The English language is a rich and varied tongue, but there are those who are ignorant of the subtleties of difference in meaning between apparently similar terms, such as aurora borealis and northern lights. Well, aurora borealis means the luminescent phenomenon that appears in skies in the Arctic polar region, whereas northern lights is a brand of fags. However, words are constantly changing their meanings, so I'd like the teams to share any new definitions they may have spotted recently. Jack, would you care to start, please?
Childhood, very young gangster.
Tim. Horticulturalist, Brian Sewell.
Barry.
Haphazard. Mind that hap.
Health and safety.
Graeme.
Deliberate, to imprison.
Heathrow, brief description of what a baggage handler does.
Orchid, the son of a Brummie.
Livery. Rather like liver.
Coincidental, having matching teeth.
Luton Airport, slightly more detailed description of what a baggage handler does.
Donation, where Homer Simpson is king. Damnation, Holland. Lamination, New Zealand.
Extort, having left school.
Abatement, downstairs, storage area used by man with sinus trouble.
Harpist, fairly drunk.
Teutonic, what you order with 2 gin.
Shoehorn, a fetish.
Wristwatch, all-night vigil in a very strict monastery. Disdain, being rude to someone from Denmark.
OK, the teams are going to sing along to some well-known discs now in the round called Pick-Up Song. DJ Samantha has completed her customary research down in the gramophone archive. As the kindly old archivists can't get out very much these days, Samantha sells them light snacks and confectionery. Initially, they were shocked by her prices, so she now offers selective discounts. There's been nothing off Mars bars, but they were delighted to see Samantha's Snickers come down at a price they can afford. She's back at the turntable and ready to give the chosen discs a spin. You should sing along, teams, until at my signal, Samantha turns the volume down. If on its return you're within a gnat's crotchet of the original, I'll be awarding points, and points mean prizes. What do you think of it so far? I agree, but who are we among so many? This week's prize will delight every keen horticulturalist who wants to make their garden look bigger. It's this lovely magnifying glass. Barry, you can start, and I'd like you to accompany Eddie Cochran singing Come On Everybody.
Oh, well, come on everybody and let's get together tonight. I got some money in my jeans and I'm really going to spend it right. Well, I'll be doing my homework all the week long, and now the house is empty and the folks are gone. Ooh, come on everybody. Dum da dum da dum da dum da dum 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 dum. Dum da dum da dum da dum da dum 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 dum. Oh, well, my baby's number 1, but I'm going to dance at 3 or 4. And the house will be shaking from my bare feet slapping on the floor. Oh, please. I agree.
That was as much your fault as Barry's.
Exactly.
Your turn now, Jack.
You stay out of it, audience.
Your turn now, Jack. Will you accompany Barry Manilow singing I Can't Smile Without You?
You know I can't smile without you. I can't smile without you. I can't laugh and I can't sing. I'm finding it hard to do anything. You see, I feel sad when you're sad. I feel glad when you're glad. If only you knew what I'm going through. I just can't smile without you.
I just can't smile.
That was the Rex Harrison technique. You now, Graeme, I'd like you please to accompany Scissor Sisters singing Take Your Mama Out.
When you grow up, living like a good boy oughta, and your mama takes a shine to her best son. Something different, all the girls that seem to like you, 'cause you're handsome, like to talk, and a whole lot of fun. But now your girl's gone missing and your house has got an empty bed. Folks wonder about the wedding, they won't listen to a word you said. I'm gonna take your mama out all night, yeah, show her what it's all about. Get her jacked up on some cheap champagne.
It's a little-known fact that Graham's son John plays keyboards for Scissor Sisters.
Yeah.
It's true, and very good he is too.
Yeah.
My father worked with Eddie Cochran.
I am Barry Manilow.
Finally, Tim, will you please accompany Tiny Tim singing Tiptoe Through the Tulip?
Tiptoe through the window, by the window, that is where I'll be. Come tiptoe through the tulips with me. Tiptoe from the garden, by the garden of the willow tree, and tiptoe through the tulips with me. If flowers will stray, we'll keep the showers away, and if I kiss
You can let go now, Jack.
OK, the teams are going to treat us to a spot of acting next in the game called Sound Charades. This is based on the erstwhile TV favourite Give Us a Clue, in which players mime titles of songs, books and films. The undisputed master of the game was Lionel Blair, whose TV career has sadly waned of late. He did, however, recently audition for I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Lionel's challenge was to sail a raft across a river with a small crew. But sadly, the raft hit a rock and sank, and what a look of horror there was on Ant's face when Lionel went down with both hands on deck. OK. Tim and Jack, you're to start, please, and your title will shortly be displayed to the audience via the laser display screen. For listeners at home, here's the mystery voice.
Pop idol. Pop idol.
Right, you're guessing this one, Barry and Graeme. Off you go, Tim and Jack.
It's 2 words, and it's a television programme, and it goes like this. Look, I've brought you a present, Jack.
Oh, thank you. Oh, that's wonderful. This is so strong.
Isn't he? Yeah, he's got the muscles, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, and the pipe in his mouth.
Isn't that sweet, the little pipe?
Yeah.
What's in the can, Tim?
That's spinach. You just mix it with a bit of olive oil, that's all it needs, yes.
That's so lovely. I'm really, really pleased with that. Thank you.
You're crying, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Never seen you smile before, or is it wind?
I'll keep it. It's just you, Tim.
Anyway.
I'll keep. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Graeme? Is it being in a can important?
No.
No, but it's strength and spinach and...
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's quite a small gift, is it?
Yes.
Like a doll?
Ah!
Very, very like that.
Yep, like a Popeye doll.
Right, your turn, Barry and Graeme. Your title's now being exhibited on the laser display board, and here again is the mystery voice for listeners at home.
Scarface. Scarface.
It's one word.
Yep,
Film.
film. Good evening. I believe you are the #1 world expert on woolly neckwear.
Yes, I am.
Scarface.
It's now time for the round called A Day in the Life, in which the teams are going to delve into the lives of well-known personalities. Barry Cryer will obviously be at an advantage here, as he's often pictured at some celebrity party or other in those showbiz gossip magazines. I've lost count of the times we've seen photos of him plastered across their pages.
Hit me again.
Teams have brought along 2 genuine lifestyle articles detailing the daily routine of famous people from past and present. However, certain sections have been removed, and I'd like you to suggest how the missing extracts may have read. We had intended our first case study to be Mark Thatcher, but we can't discuss him for legal reasons, as he faces prosecution in Equatorial Guinea under the strict anti-smug git laws. Okay, we'll start with you, Barry and Graeme. For you, I have the words of none other than 17th century diarist Samuel Pepys. Can you guess the missing sections for me, please? To my lords this morning, but my lord not being up, I went out to Charing Cross to see Major General Harrison hanged, drawn and...
Served with an antisocial behaviour order.
Quartered, of course. He was looking as cheerfully as any man could do, considering...
Jim Davidson was doing the warm-up.
his condition. He was presently cut down, and his head and his heart...
Sold to Fray Bentos.
shown to the people. Finding myself beginning to be troubled with wind, as I used to be, and with pain in making water, I took a couple of...
trips on Nemesis at Alton Towers. But it didn't shift a thing.
pills that I had by me of Mr. Batesby, the apothecary. My pain continued on me mightily, and I could break no wind, nor have any...
fun setting light to it.
stool after my physic had done working. I took a coach and horse to the apothecary, but he was not at home. And so home again. Bloody interesting diary. And whether the coach did me good or no, I know not. But having a good fire in my chamber, I began to...
put on a deafening display.
Well, to be more explicit, break 6 or 7 small and great farts. No medium-sized. After supper, to have my head combed by our maid Deb, which occasioned the greatest sorrow to me that ever I knew in this world, for my wife, coming up suddenly, did find...
me at my desk making an entry.
Me embracing the girl. Indeed, I was with my hand under her...
radar.
skirts. My wife was struck mute and...
then spoke for about 40 or 50 minutes.
or more concisely, grew angry. I stayed up till the bellman came by with his bell just under my window, as I was...
in need of a bell.
writing of this very line. I then went to bed.
The end.
OK, your turn now, Tim and Jack, and for you I have the words of Paul Daniels. Can you guess the missing sections in this piece? Debbie and I are early birds. In the summer we're up early, knocking...
Or just having breakfast.
A few balls about on the tennis court. I get about 25 requests a day to...
Do the anatomically impossible.
Do things.
Oh.
I do enjoy photography, and I like cars. I've got a Bentley, a Mazda RX-7, a Ferrari, and a...
Very small Willie.
Otherwise known as a Sinclair C5. I'm a WYSIWYG. Know what that is? WYSIWYG? What you see is...
A wig.
What you get. I'm from the north, and that tends to give you an accent that's better for...
Claiming benefit.
Comedy. And when I work on stage, I actually take my voice up a notch so that...
Dogs can hate me as well.
It cuts through harder. Out of the TV comedians, I like Ben Elton, Halen Pace, and...
Barry Cryer.
Jack D. Debbie has made my life very easy and smooth, and she enjoys looking after me because she knows...
What's in my will?
How very hard I work. Our relationship is everything that is indefinable. Chemistry...
Geography and domestic science.
Friendship, good living together. And it also works because I'm very...
Heavily tranquilized most of the time.
Funny. Guys don't like saying anything romantic to the wife, but the other night in the middle of a TV program I turned round to Debbie and said...
Come on, love, get 'em out for the rabbit.
I wish we weren't married, because then I'd ask you all over again. Our love life is fantastic. It's 3 times a night for me. I've got no problems in that department. I'm very happy. I just wish Debbie could...
Be there as well.
Keep up with me.
Keep up with me.
Yeah, one of them's got to. Once I got upstairs and Debbie was lying stark naked on the bed. She was wearing the sort of sleeping blindfold you get on long-haul flights. Printed on it was "Do not disturb." But further down her body she had a sign that said...
Do not remove blindfold.
Disturb. Actually, I notice it's very nearly the end of the show, but there's just time to fit in a round of Accident and Emergency Film Club. Samantha has to nip out now. She's meeting her new gentleman friend at the local hospital where he's an anaesthetist. He's promised to introduce her to some of his patients, and later on, Samantha is hoping he'll let her help him knock one out. So, teams, while she's away enjoying that, I'd like you please to suggest movie titles that might appeal to an audience drawn from the hospital casualty department. You can start this one, Jack.
Blair Witch Hazel Project.
A&E, Which Way But Loose.
Fatal Attraction.
Lord of the Syringe.
Diarrhea of Bridget Jones.
Four swellings and a funeral.
Ingrid Bergman is anesthesia.
Crutch Cassidy and the One Chance Skid.
Rash. Because it's a bit like MASH, do you see? You're not going to like gash or bash in that case.
Pretty shitty prang bang.
Rash.
There's amputations and dislocations.
What film is
What
that?
film is that?
Congratulations, it was a TV movie that Cliff made.
That'd be like the movie version of the Chronicles of Narnia.
Around the ward in 80 days.
Bring me the rest of Alfredo Bausch.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the show, and indeed this series. However, we know there are a number of loyal listeners who tune into repeats of the show over on BBC 7, and we'd like to say personal thanks to all of them. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. So, from the team, Samantha, myself, and the good folk of Tunbridge Wells, it's goodbye.
Barry Cryer, Graeme Garden, Tim Brooke-Taylor and Jack Dee were being given silly things to do by Humphrey Lyttleton, with Colin setting some of them to music. The programme consultant was Ian Pattinson.